Should I take a job that pays me 1 million naira per month to work 7 days a week, Monday to Sunday, and 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.? Or should I take a job that pays me 500,000 naira a month and still allows me to have my weekend to myself and also work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.? I'm so sure this is a situation a lot of people, especially professionals, would have found themselves in at one point in time or the other. And in this video, we'll be looking at how to evaluate two jobs when you have multiple options. Should I go with this or should I go with that? Before I get into the framework, I need to acknowledge something. The salary obsession in Nigeria is not an irrational one. And I say this genuinely. It comes from somewhere very real. Most of us grew up, watching our parents work incredibly hard just to keep things together. Education was also positioned as something like an escape route and also as the factor that would determine if our lives will look different from theirs. And it feels like the only thing that means success is whether you are earning good money, do you have a respectable title, or are you a manager? Also, can you take care of your family? So when a job offer comes in, the first call you make is not to maybe like a career coach or to get an advice from a mentor or someone just older than you in the profession. The first call you make will mostly be to a friend that also have the same opinion on this matter as you do. And I know that this is a very sensitive and also a very serious matter. I understand this deeply because financial stability is not something we joke with. It's not a small thing, especially in an economy like ours in Nigeria, where the cost of living is a whole separate conversation on its own. Let's not even get there. Money matters is such a sensitive matter. But this is something I've watched happen to smart, talented, and hardworking people. We optimize so hard for salary that we end up in roles that pay us well, and it's as though it costs us everything else: our health, our growth, our peace, and even our time. And we stay because living that kind of role feels as if we are going backward, and going back is something we're raised not to do, right? So I think we need a better framework, not a framework that ignores money. That's not what I'm saying, but one that actually puts money in its proper place alongside everything else that actually matters in our lives. And here's the first factor I want you to consider: the people you work with will either make or break you. The first thing I look at, and honestly the thing I wish I had looked at more carefully early on in my career, is the people. Not even the company, the people, because people are what makes up an organization, but specifically even your direct manager and your immediate team. Because here is what I know to be true: a great manager in an average company will do more for your career than an average manager in a great company. Why? Because your manager kind of controls your visibility, your opportunities, your growth within that organization. He or she controls your day-to-day experience of the work. They are like the single biggest variable in whether you thrive or survive in an organization. And the truth is that in Nigerian work culture specifically, the manager dynamic kind of have extra weight because hierarchy here is real. Right, and in many organizations, questioning your manager, even constructively, is considered either rude or insubordination, which means that if you end up with someone who is insecure, or someone who is micromanaging you, or someone that is political, or just not interested or invested in your career development, it means you are stuck. You cannot walk around them. You have to walk through them as if you're walking on eggshells. So here's what I would say: before you take any role, try and find a way to understand who you are working with and who you are working for. Talk to people who have worked with that kind of manager before. Pay attention in the interview. Are they excited about your growth so far, or they are just excited about what you can deliver? Do they speak well of their previous team or even of their current team members when you ask them questions about it? Because the salary on the offer letter is fixed, right? But the quality of your manager shapes everything, shapes your experience in the organization more than you can imagine. The second factor that is also worth noting is, are you earning or learning, and which one do you actually need right now? And I think this is a question I ask every time I'm evaluating a move, right? And the answer changes each time depending on where you are at the moment in your career, because there are roles that pay you well and there are roles that teach you a lot. Sometimes you can get both, good for you. And when that happens, hold on to that with both your ends, hold it tight. But often it's sometimes like a trade-off, and you have to be honest with yourself about which one you need more right now, especially at the early part of your career. So if you are early in your career, and I mean genuinely early, you're still building your career foundation, a role that teaches you high value skills in a high growth environment is worth more than its salary, because what you learn in those few years actually compounds. For example, the analyst who spends their first 3 years in a structured, demanding environment where they are being stretched and exposed to senior stakeholders and complex problems, I think that person is worth significantly more at year 5 of their career than the person who took the highest paying entry level role and spent 3 years doing the same routine task on repeats. Now, if you're in mid-career, you are more experienced with a family and say a lot of financial commitments, the calculation is totally different for you, because at that point job security and compensation needs to go hand in hand. They are like a priority for you at that level. But the real question to ask is always, what does this role add to my story? What does it add to my career journey? Imagine your CV 2 years from now. Which version of this decision makes that CV much more compelling to your next hiring manager? Which version makes you more valuable, not just to this company but to the market? Because your salary at this job is temporary, but your skills, they go everywhere with you. It is yours and yours forever. The third factor I also want you to consider is autonomy, the thing nobody puts in the job description. This one I think is underrated, and I think about it a lot. So what is autonomy really? Autonomy is the freedom to do your work the way you think it should be done. For example, to bring ideas, to bring strategies and initiatives to the table, and knowing that it will be implemented, to try things out, to have a voice in decision, to not spend every single day waiting for someone 3 levels above you to approve a simple process change. It doesn't mean that there won't be structure, or it doesn't negate the fact that there are some organizations that are genuinely and legitimately bureaucratic. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying in essence is this: the absence of autonomy is one of the most quietly draining things that can happen to a productive and an efficient person at work. For example, I've seen analysts, brilliant ones, who are just sitting in organizations where the data team exists purely to just produce reports that have already been decided, right? Nobody wants their insights, nobody wants their recommendations. They just want the numbers formatted and sent by 8 a.m. every single day, every single week. And these people are genuinely frustrated, they are bored, and slowly losing the part of themselves that actually genuinely loves the work. Now, here is how this connects to salary. A role with more autonomy but slightly less pay might actually give you more career growth, honestly, because you are being trusted to think, to decide, to own outcomes. And I think that experience, that track record of ownership, is what gets you to your next level in your career faster. So here's just my advice to you: before you take on a role, try and ask in the interview, how are decisions made on this team? Can you give me an example of when someone junior brought an idea that changed how things were done? And I want you to actually listen in and hear the response from the interviewer or from the hiring manager, because that answer, it may not tell you all, but at least it will give you an idea of how things works in that organization. Now to the fourth factor I want you to consider: what is this job doing to your life outside work, and is that okay? I need to talk about this one very, very openly. There are jobs in Nigeria, and we all know the industries where the unspoken expectation is that the work owns you. Your evenings, your weekends, your ability to be present for the people you care about, your health, and the salary is positioned as the justification for all of it. But does it really? But is it really worth it though? And for a while, especially when you are young, you are vibrant, you are hungry and just trying to prove yourself, that trade-off can feel worth it, I know. But I've watched what happens to people who make that trade-off for too long. It doesn't just cost them time, it also costs them valuable relationships. It costs them their health in ways that shows up years later. It even costs them the ability to enjoy the money they worked so hard for, because they are just so depleted to actually live life. So the question isn't just what is this job paying me? The question is what is this job costing me? And I don't mean financially. What does the version of me that takes this job look like in 18 months down the line? Am I growing? Am I rested? Am I present for my family? Am I someone my future self will be proud of? So if the honest answer to these questions is somewhat uncomfortable, then I think that comfort is actually an information for you to then act on. So don't ignore it just because the salary is good. Now to the fifth factor. Know what winning looks like for you, not your family. I'm not talking about LinkedIn. I'm not talking about what looks cute and glamorous on LinkedIn for you. And this is the one that sort of ties everything I've been saying in this video, that ties it up together. The reason we struggle to evaluate jobs well enough is that most of us have actually never clearly defined what we want. We are only optimizing for a version of success that was handed to us by our parents, by culture, by what looks impressive on LinkedIn, without even stopping to ask whether it's actually the version we want for ourselves or not. For example, do you want to earn a lot of money genuinely? Is financial security your primary driver for working? Then if it is, just own it and make decisions accordingly. There is nothing wrong with following the money if money is honestly what you need and want right now. Or do you actually want to build deep expertise in a specific area and become genuinely world-class at something? Then if that's your driver, the highest paying generalist role might not be your best move. Or do you want flexibility and time? If that's what you want, a role that pays less but gives you your evenings and your weekends might actually be the richer life for you to consider. For you, your driver could be that you eventually want to build something of your own. It could be an agency, it could be a consulting business, it could be a startup, whatever that is for you. Then the role that teaches you about the business the most, about how the business works, the inside and outside, even if it pays less, it's probably the best investment for you right now. Because the truth is this, there is no universally correct answer. So remember the question I asked at the start of this video. It's not really about which one is best or which one is better or yes or no answer. There is no correct answer, but there is a correct answer for you, for your own circumstance, for your own situation, and you have to know what that is before you can properly evaluate any opportunity clearly. So now to the other part of this video, let's talk about how to actually compare two jobs. I'll make this as practical as I can. So when you're comparing two opportunities or even evaluating where you currently are, I want you to run them through these 5 questions. Number 1, who are the people, especially who is the manager? Because your manager is the single biggest variable in your day-to-day experience in that organization. Number 2, am I earning or learning on this role? And which one do I need at this point in my career? Number 3, how much autonomy does this role give me? Will I be trusted to think, or will I just be executing? Number 4, what does this role do to my life outside of work? What does it cost me beyond the hours? Number 5, which option gets me closer to what I actually want? Not what looks good on social media, what I actually want for myself and for my career. Because the truth is this, salary is only an input into all the questions in this framework. Yes, I agree, it's a very important factor, but it's not the only factor that determines what opportunities you go for. So I want you to write these questions down and answer them honestly and carefully for both options, and then see which one stands out for you. And I think that's how you decide when you have multiple opportunities to choose from. Here is one thing I want you to take away from this video. A good career and a good life, they are not mutually exclusive, but salary alone will not give you both. So let me know in the comments, what's the one factor outside of salary that you wish you had paid more attention to before taking a job? I read every single comment and I will respond. And if this video made you think about a decision you're currently sitting with, I would like you to share with someone who needs to hear it, because not everyone has people in their corner who will ever have this kind of conversation with them honestly. So see you in my next video, and while you're at it, like, subscribe and share. See you in the next one. Bye.